My name is Harsh. Welcome to my YouTube channel. So in today's session, we'll be discussing about how we can use the React props, which is a very important topics. So now in React.js, we are using props to pass the data from one component to another component. So let's say you want to pass the data from one component to another component. So for example, let's say you have the app component and then you have the welcome component. So now you want to pass the data from app component to welcome component, or let's say you have one main component also. So from main component you want to pass the data to app component, from app you want to pass the data to the welcome component. So whenever we want to pass the data in between the component, we are always using props. So I will be adding the example shortly. First, let's understand what the props is. So we can pass any kind of data type here. For example, either we can pass the string, we can pass the array, or we can pass the object. Even we can pass the function also as a props, which is very important. Props is like the HTML attributes. It means key and value pair. The way we are using HTML attributes like width, height, or like in anchor tag we have HREA. For image we are using SRC. In the similar fashion we can use here also. And props is read only. It means we cannot update the props. It is just read only. Alright, so let's understand this with the help of the example. So if you can see, I am already running one React application in localhost colon 5173, and I just have the app component and the welcome component. So in the main.jsx I am calling the app component, and in the app component I'm just calling the welcome component. So I'm just going to define the props in the main.jsx now. So let's say I have a variable called username. So I'm just saying username is Harsh. So I just have this variable, and then I have another, let's say interest. So I just have the interest. I'm using the GitHub Copilot to write the code, because I want to write it fast, and nowadays every companies are using the AI tool. So username is Harsh, the interest is coding, gaming and reading, and then I just want to have one object also, let's say birth detail, and in this I just have date is 15, month is June, and year is 2000. So this is the string, so I'm just having the string here, then this is nothing but this is the array, and here we are using the object. So as I said, we can pass any values in props. So in the main.jsx, I'm just defining three variables: username, interest and birth details. Now I just want to pass this data to my app component as a props. So what I can do is I can just say, hey, username, or I can have any name actually. So I can say username is username, interest is interest, birth detail is this. So to the app component, I'm just passing, as I said, right? What is props? Props is like HTML attributes. So we are just writing username is username, interest is interest, and birth detail is basically the object which we have here. So I'm just passing all this information to the app component. Now what is app component? App component is the functional component. This is the normal functional component, but we can also have the arrow function. I mean, instead of function, I can write the arrow symbol, and I can use the arrow function component as well. I'm just using the normal function right now. Now, whenever we want to use the props, we can just write the props, and then I just want to have the console.log, because I just want to show you the console.log. So I can just say console.log and props. So we can see all the props which we are receiving into the app component. So I can just go here and I can just do inspect. The moment I'm doing the inspect, we will be getting the developer tools, and I'm just refreshing the page. So in the main.jsx, we are just passing three props: username, interest and birth details. So the app component is receiving these props. We are just doing the console.log. So when I'm going into the dashboard, and when I'm going into the console, you see the app.jsx line number 4 here. We are getting username is Harsh, interest is this coding, gaming and reading, and username, I mean birth details is the object. Perfect. So we are getting the string also, we are getting the array also, we are getting the object as well. You can pass any kind of data type. If you want to pass decimal, boolean or a function, we can do that as well. So this is how we can receive the data using the props. Now let's say in the browser, I just want to display the username. So I can just create one h2, and I'm saying here in the h2 basically, I'm just saying username is props.username. Now I'm just having one another called again one h2. So I'm just having the h2. I'm using the GitHub Copilot, so I'm getting the suggestions as well. And now I just want to display the interest. Now you know what interest is basically the array. So I just want to convert this into the string so we can use the join. So we can see the comma because we are just using the comma. So in the browser we can see the interest in one line. Then again I'm using one h2, and then I just want to have the birth detail because we have the birth detail. So in the birth detail we can just write a props dot birth detail dot date or dot month, or I'm just doing the word rep so we can see all together. Yeah, so we are just displaying the same. So the moment I'll be going into the browser, you see here the username is Harsh, and the interest is coding, gaming, and reading, and birth details. So in the main.jsx, we are passing the props to the app component. App component is receiving the props, so we need to write the props here, and then we are just displaying the username and the interest and the object. Now suppose let's take an example. You want to pass these props to the welcome component also, so the welcome component can receive these props. So we can do it very easily. I mean, I have two different ways by which we can do. Either I can create three variables, pass it like an HTML attributes, the way we did it into the main component, similar way, or I can use ES6 dot 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 and I can directly pass the data as well. So let's say I'm creating the three variables right now, just to give you a normal example, not the latest one. So I'm just saying username, and let's say in the username I'm saying I want to pass the props dot username. So props dot username is, we can see the props dot username is Harsh, and then this I want to pass the interest also. So I'm again creating one variable called interest, and in the interest I'm saying props dot interest, and in the birth detail I'm just passing the same. Now you know what, the welcome component will also receive the props, so we can just say props, and then I just want to have the console.log just to show you first. This is the welcome component, so I can just mention this is the welcome because we have the props, I mean we have the console.log in the app component also. So here we can say this is the app component, so we will get to know, okay, this is the app component props. So we can just mention app component, and in the welcome component I'm just saying this is the welcome component. Now we can go into the browser, and in the browser I'm just refreshing the page once. So we already know, like in the app component we are receiving the username is Harsh, interest is 3, birth detail is there. Even in the welcome component also we receive the username, interest, and birth detail. And where it is originally it is inside the main component. So from the main component we are passing to the app component. From the app component, we are passing further to the welcome component. So this is how we can pass the value from one component to another component. Now in the welcome component also, if you want to display this into the browser, so let's say I'm just creating a div, and inside the div I just want to display all the details. So first I want to have the username, so I can just take, I want to display the interest and birth details all. Now the moment we are going into the browser, and let me refresh the page, I want to make sure there is no error in the console as well. So you see the app component we are already displaying this earlier, but in the welcome component also we have the username is Harsh, interest is coding, gaming, and reading, and birth details is 15 June 2000. So what we are exactly doing is we have just created these three variables. Let me write it into the readme file. So in the main component main.jsx file we just have these three variables here, and then we are just passing this to the app component. So this is the line which is very important, and we are doing the same here, right? And then in the app component we are receiving the props. So in the app component you can see, like we are just having props dot username, props dot interest, props dot birth detail, and then if you want to pass it further like to the welcome component also, so this is what we are doing in the app component. So in the app component we are passing further to this. So welcome component, the way from main component app component is receiving the props, and even this welcome component is also receiving the props, and we are using the same. So the conclusion is, whenever you want to pass the data from one component to another component, we can use props. We can pass any kind of data type, either it is a string, array, object, function, boolean, decimal, and then we can just pass the data like this, the HTML attributes, and then we can just receive the data as a props, and then we can just use the props dot, and we can see the data. Further, if you want to send the data to the other component as well, we can just pass it there. And props is read only, so we cannot update the value. So friends, hope you like this video. Please like, share and subscribe. Thank you.